Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG review. As you can see by the graphics, this is my Unscripted and Unchained Dungeon 2023 Mega Dungeon project uh, entitled The Princess and the Orc Brute, which is the theme of the first level of my Mega Dungeon. And this is session 2, room number 2. So if you're familiar with this project, you kind of know what's going on. I will just reiterate that I'm doing it a little bit differently. Not only am I taking it from the DM's perspective of creating a dungeon, but I'm also running through it as a player because I'm using a solo RPG. In particular, I'm using Four Against Darkness in order to run through this. So this video should be much shorter than the last because the last time I did a lot of setup and everything. It's still a 30-minute video. It's not tremendously long, but I do recommend that you take a look at that as well um, if you're not already picking up where I left off. So without further ado, let's get right to our map where we left off. And so I have my four characters. I have my dwarf Tybor, and he was pretty effective in the last fight. And then Roland, the thief or the rogue, he took 1 health point of damage in the last encounter. And then the Ilana is an elf, kind of a fighter magic user. Should be very effective in this particular combat. She gets a +1 against orcs, and she actually picked up a +1 short bow in the very first room, the very first encounter. So that is going to be very, very useful. And then finally, Clovis, the cleric, who rounds out the rest of the party of 4. So we left off at the entry room of this dungeon, and they have 2 objectives here. The first objective is to kill everything that's in this dungeon level. This is going to be the first dungeon level of the mega dungeon, and it is primarily an orc lair. And then their second objective in this is to actually um, come across the orc brute, which is kind of the chieftain of the orc lair. And if they return with his head, the princess will give them a rich reward for doing so. But first, they have to actually survive in this. So I'm at the stage now where I'm going to discover what the next room is. Now, 2 of the orcs had run off. They killed 4. 2 of them had escaped. And so I'm just going to determine which way they actually went. And a 1 to 3 will be to the left, and a 4, 5, and 6 will be towards the right. And so they are making a right turn. And now I have to determine what the next room is going to look like, because I don't know that yet. So this system uses an 11 to a 66 to determine the direction or what the next room is going to look like, or potentially corridor. And then I will, once I determine that, and I will roll that. The black die is the 10s, the white die is the 1s, and I rolled a 42. So I will come here and look at 42, and it is a zigzag corridor. So now I can look to see how I'm going to orient this corridor. I can go 2 across, 2 down, and 3 across. I have room to do that. Or I can orient it 3 across and then 2 across, and see how that works. I might go 3, 2, and then 1 to determine that. So I am going to orient it in that direction, right? I am going to go 3 long, and it will be 3 long, two down on this end. I got 2 down yet. And then 1 over. And so that's going to come to here, come down, and go there. So this is a corridor, and the party is pursuing the 2 escaping orcs down that corridor. And I'm first going to check to see what is occurring in the corridor. And this could become an event, or this could become just just an empty corridor. And so I'll go on to the next room and see what will fit in there. So let's see what we have here. So I'm going to roll 2d20, and this is a corridor. So I'm going to roll 2d20, and I rolled a 10. So now a 10 is, it is empty. All right. So, and I'll leave it there. It's going to be an empty corridor. And like I said, I was not going to spend the time detailing and spending a whole session on just something that's empty. So let's see what our next potential room is. Again, I'm rolling an 11 to a 66, and so I rolled a 44. So a 44 on this here is now going to be a room which probably is not going to fit this space. All right. So, and as I said, I am going to take creative license and dungeon mastering ability here to make a different change up. So let's see what a 14 will produce here. So a 14, again, it's going to be kind of complicated to fit this particular, well, potentially it could work, but I am going to try one more time. So that's just a 34 now. Let's see if a 34 will fit in. It will not. So here we come into the problem of something not exactly working using the randomized tables, but I'm going to keep on trying until I do another zigzag hallway. Let's get something, a 12. A 12 is just a connector to nothing. A 54. That's a single room. Perfect. It will it comes to a room that is 3 by 3, and we're going to send it up to this direction. There we go. And there is a door in here. So now it's going to become a room. All right. Now I have the 2 orcs that are going to end up in there from the previous encounter. And now we're checking on a room scale here. So 2d6, and we ended up with a 6. So roll a d6 on the vermin table. All right, so rolling a d6 on the vermin table. And so there'll be 2 orcs and some vermin. And let's see, vermin table is on, so minions. Oh, here we are, 35. So 35. Now, vermin are not very challenging at all. But with the 2 orcs in there, So vermin could be rats, it could be vampire bats, it could be goblin swarmlings, it could be giant centipedes, it could be vampire frogs, or 2 to 6 skeletal rats. So let's see what we end up with here. I'm going to roll a d6, and I ended up with a 5. So d6 vampire frogs. They're level 4. Despite the vampire moniker, these are not undead creatures. So 2d6 vampire frogs, and on the vermin table. So let's see. A d6, I mean, d6. So there's 5 vampire frogs. And so now I'm going to get out this here. So we have 2 orcs. So these are minions. And it's their level 4. And there's 2 of them. So I can put a line through all of this. And then we had 5 vampire frogs. So these are vermin. And they are, surprisingly, they're also level 4. There's 5 of them. And so they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll do this. Now, vermin are a little bit different than minions. So when we go and we check the differences between minions and vermin, we will double check this really quickly. And so minions are encounters in large numbers. They are classed as minions or vermin. The only difference is that vermin do not give any XP when you defeat them. All right. So luckily the 2, otherwise this room wouldn't count for potential encounter for the characters to level up on. Plus there's a door, so I'm going to double check later on to see if that door is involved. So there are 5 X vermin and the 2 orcs remainder. These are kind of my notes for this, and I will further flesh this out as we go along. So following the same rule that I did the last time, as the party comes out of this narrow corridor and then floods into the room, they already know about the 2 orcs, so that's not going to be an issue with them. They will be able to engage the orcs and then the vermin that they encounter, those vampiric frogs. And so I am going to have my lead 2 characters begin. They're going to focus on the orcs first. Now there's quite a bit in this room here, and so I'm going to bring in the next element to that. But first, the dwarf and the rogue will act first. So the dwarf is going to attack, and he gets he's getting a +1 to his roll. And let's see what he rolls. So he rolled a 6. 6 is enough. The orcs are only 4th level, and so he is going to kill one of the 2 orcs. And so I'm going to go here, and one of them is dead. The rogue is going to attack, and he missed. All right, the 1 orc that survived is going to be able to attack. Now, this is the rogue's defensive roll. So he needs to roll a 4 above a 4, and he gets a +2 for his defensive ability. He definitely defended. All right. And then only two of the vermin are going to be able to attack, because, again, they can only engage one or, two at a time when the combatants are coming through a corridor. So two of the vermin will get an attack. One on the dwarf. He has a +2, and he succeeded in his defense. Again, they're level 4, so he only needs to roll a 4 with a +2 advantage to it. And the rogue is getting attacked, and he made his save as well. So now the entire party is inside the room, and there is one orc left. There is the full party of 4, and then there are the 5 vermin. So I am going to have again, following the normal battle order, the dwarf is going to attack first. Now he's attacking the remaining orc, and he rolled a total of a 6. He killed the second orc, and so the second orc is now dead. And the rogue is going to attack the vermin, and he rolled a 5, so he is going to kill one of the vermin. So now the total number in the room is there are 4 vermin left and a party of 4. The only reason why I mention that is because it's important for the rogue. He'll get a +1 if the party outnumbers their opponents. So the elven magic user fighter is going to attack, and she rolled a 5. She killed one of the vermin. So now they're down to 3, and finally the cleric is going to attack. Now the cleric gets a +1 to this. He just needs to roll above a 4 or 4 or above, and he missed. So he did not connect. There are 4 vermin left, 4 characters. The way that you do this system is each character is going to be attacked by 1 vermin. The vermin, the attackers, don't actually roll. What I'm rolling for is the player characters, or the characters are the only ones that actually roll here. So Tybor is rolling with a +2. He needs to get a 4, above a 4. And he did. He got a 5, so he is missed. The rogue has a +2. And he rolled a 4, so he was just hit. And he took another point of damage. So he's down to 2 hit points, basically. The elf gets a +1. And she rolled a 5, so she is unharmed. And the cleric has a +3 defensive bonus. That's for the armor and the shield. And a 4. So the cleric actually took 1 point of damage. All right. It is now back to the dwarf. He is going to attack. He rolled a 4, which is just enough to kill 1 more vermin. And I lost my sheet that I'm keeping track of them on. Here we go. There were only 2 left. The rogue gets a +1 to this roll because they outnumber the vermin, but he still missed with a 3. The elf rolled that's equivalent of a 5 or 6. That's a 6. So kills, there's only one of the vampire frogs left. It's up to the cleric. Now, the cleric is not going to risk an attack while the thief or the rogue is in such dire straits. So what the cleric is going to do is going to cast a heal spell, d6 plus 1, and he rolls 6. So the rogue is going to be healed up all the way to back to his maximum. Somehow I skipped over his sheet. So he is now back up to 4 life points. The last remaining vermin is going to attack the cleric, actually, because he was the last one there. And the cleric definitely made his save. And now we go back to the very beginning, top of the order. The dwarf is going to attack the last remaining vermin, and he killed the last remaining vermin. So there we go. So now they have completed their second room. They've killed 5 vermin and 2 orcs. There is a door in this room, plus there might be other things in this room. So when we go back here to the vermin table, it says, if you win, roll d6 on the treasure table. And the treasure table can be found on page, this is the normal treasure table. Let's see if I can find that. Page 34. So let's see what they find in this room. And again, I can detail this room out a little bit further later on. So let's see. This is the regular treasure table. I rolled a 3. There is going to be a scroll with a random spell. All right. And spell selection, I will make it a, let's go with the random spells table. Random spell. So there was a scroll with fireball on it. Oh my gosh. All right, so we're going to put scroll with fireball. All right, so that will certainly come in handy. All right, next thing I want to check is this a locked door? All right, so that's page 63. And on page 63, we were going to check to see if this door is locked. You may roll a die for every door that appears in the room. On a 1 to 2, that door is locked. On a 6, roll d6 for the level of the lock. Then mark the lock with an L. You may find it tedious to roll for every single door, so consider this as an option. All right, so let's just see. Is the door locked? Only on a 1 or 2 is it locked. All right, of course it is locked. What level is it locked at? It is a level 5 lock. Use the rogue to lock the door or bash the door. Let's see. So he's going to try to lockpick the door. Okay. Lockpicking the door. Only a rogue may attempt to lockpick the door. Roll the die and add the rogue's level. All right. -1 for each of the locks level. So he's going to need to roll very high on this. And so he is going to roll. He has a +1. So he needs to beat a 5 or meet or beat a 5. And he did not. So he was not able to unlock this door. And so we're going to rely on the ultimate lockpick, which is bashing the door. Barbarians and warriors, which a dwarf counts as 1. Roll to determine how sturdy the door is, 1 to 3, um, or 3. I'm sorry, 1 to 3, the door is a level 3. 4, 5, or 6 is a level 4. All right. Unless published otherwise, uh, all doors are typically 3. On a roll of 1, the noise attracts unwanted attention. Roll wandering monsters. So we're still in this one room, and we're just testing this out. So how sturdy is the door? Of course. So the door is a level 3. If you beat the door and the door opens, if you do not beat the door, you may try again later. If you roll a 1, all right, so now he's going to try to beat the door. So the door is a level 3. He needs to roll above a 3. He gets a +1, and he did. So he beat the door open. Let's see if there's any noise. There is no noise. I rolled a 5. So there is no noise. So they've managed to bash open the door, and that is going to lead to the next room or corridor or whatever. So, quick summary here. So, room number 2, and I am going to mark off that we have completed session number 2 over here. I circled it way up over here. Room number 2 had some vampiric frogs. The 2 remaining orcs that were running away, so at least they haven't set off any kind of an alarm that anyone knows so far. And we are over here for our next episode. So hopefully you're enjoying this and you're kind of seeing how the system works. It's a very, very simple system. When you're randomizing, it's a lot more free forming. What I'm doing is I'm limiting myself to a 28 by 20 grid here to kind of cram everything in. And I'm going to just try to keep it to this size. And so as you can see, when I'm trying to use this here, trying to make it all fit into place, sometimes you have to use your creative discretion to alter the shape of the or the selection that came up from the randomized roll. So um, you have to constantly make these decisions, going through this process. And, so far, pretty cool. I hope you like this video. It does not take 6 hours to upload this video like it did last night. So you should actually get it tonight, I'm hoping. And then I can keep on, and then I will start to run more than one of these per day, and then I can start pre-planning for their distribution throughout the rest of the week. I should have time tomorrow to actually do a couple of these sessions. So that's the end of session 2, room number 2, dungeon 23 from Unscripted and Unchained. I hope you like this video. Thumbs up, share, subscribe, join if you're willing to join the join the channel as a paying member. Opens up all kinds of opportunities for you to participate in my gaming or my live streams and such. So an added bonus for those of you that are that are willing to back the channel with a membership. So again, thanks for joining. Hope you like this video. Take care. Have a great evening.